Welcome back, my passive income investors. I am currently a millennial, 29 years old with almost $300,000 in savings, and I thought it would be entertaining to actually review what the average millennial has in savings, what it's going to take to get us to retirement, and then finally, I want to explain to you how I've been self-employed for the last decade and what skills I can utilize to maybe potentially even help you guys start a side hustle, or if you're one of those millennials that hasn't got on track just yet, this might actually really help you out with the insights I have to offer. So in the clarity of my transparency, do the channel a favor, hit that like button, folks, and I want to kick it off with this article. And there's a lot of skewed information because I've gone all over the place and it's slightly different depending on your source, but this is coming from Go Banking Rates. This is how much millennials have in savings and what this means for their future. As much flack as millennials get for their bad financial habits, they are actually pretty good savers. A recent survey conducted by Bank of America found that 73% of millennials are actively saving money, and more than half, 59%, have $15,000 or more in savings. Perhaps even more impressive, the survey found that nearly 1 in 4 millennials, 24%, has $100,000 or more in savings. And while that seems impressive, is that actually enough? Whether 100K is enough depends on a number of factors, of course. The Bank of America survey did not distinguish between younger and older millennials, and where that 100,000 was saved, savings accounts, retirement accounts, etc. But these factors all matter when it comes to determining whether 100,000 in savings is truly enough for your future goals. Now, a lot of the factors really just come down to how much you're spending. Are you investing that money? Are you compounding it fast enough to end up with a retirement amount of money? When do you plan on retiring? We're going to get a little more into that, but let me just skip to the more interesting part of this article where it says, for most millennials, 100K is a good amount to have in savings. Although individual circumstance will determine whether or not someone is on track with 100,000 in savings, in general, this is a good level of savings for millennials to reach. And in fact, those with 100,000 in savings may actually be ahead of the game. The amount is twice where millennials should be, said Howard Devakin, CPA and chairman of Debt.com. The rule of thumb is that by the time you turn 30, you should have your annual salary saved. Considering the average millennial salary is around $50,000, having 100,000 is absolutely stellar. 41% of millennials are not where they should be. Now, this is where things kind of get a little uncomfortable. Although it's great to see 24% of millennials have a very healthy amount in their savings, it's important to also pay attention to the less positive survey findings, namely the 41% of millennials that have less than 15,000. If you're not at least there, you're way behind on your retirement saving, and that's the low bar, said Durvakin. And that tells me that there are too many millennials out there who are getting dragged down by what are likely student loans. Making a budget to make sure they are both paying off the debt and saving for retirement is key in setting your finances up for success. You can't save your way to retirement. This is one of the big debates in here, because if that 100,000 is just sitting in a bank account, even though they're saying, hey, that's better than average, the fact of the matter is if you're not utilizing that, you're actually not going to make it to retirement. Let me show you what I mean by this, because let's say you had 100,000 saved and you want to retire with $1 million just in the bank in cash. Well, if that 900,000 that you're going to have to earn over the next 30 years, if you're going to plan on retiring at 60 from 30, requires you to put $30,000 away a year, or divide that out by a monthly, we would talk about $2,500 a month in savings just to get to $1 million. But this is really stupid, because if you watch my channel, you know investing is the only way, whether it be real estate or stocks. At that average market return of 8%, guys, you would only have to put away $500 a month. That is drastically different, less than 25% as much, starting with that 100K. Over that 30-year period, you'd actually end up with $1.7 million. That is night and day difference in half the amount of workload just from investing, right? This is why it's so important to invest in general, which I'm sure most of you have figured out at this point and have endeavored down into. I just like reiterating these points because it's a pretty healthy discussion to have, especially if you can outperform the market. You could even cut that time down in half and start playing with these numbers where things get really impressive, because if you can make a 15% return over a 15-year period, you're going to get $1 million putting away $500 a month starting with 100K. Like, wildly awesome awesome numbers. And then in my personal perspective here, folks, if I were to follow the same iterations that you would be following for simple returns, I could be ending up with 3.7 million. Not to brag, there are people already my age with millions of dollars. This is just really fun to play with because you can really kind of use it in your own circumstances, which, by the way, I will leave the link in the description below. The only other factors that really come into play in a world where we're seeing hyperinflation and people like myself, and likely you will become a little bit more frugal through the entire pandemic. It's not the best life to be living where you're only making $40,000 a year and you want to retire early, so you're going to try and put away 50% of your income, which makes you try and live on $20,000 a year, makes you insanely cheap, probably overly uncomfortable to be around. And damn it, I am almost there because I live with my parents. Trust me, I am on the borderline of over uncomfortable frugality. But what you want to do is you want to make more money because you don't have to give up your Starbucks. You just have to figure out how to leverage your skills or try and find a way to make an extra income. And honestly, from a guy that has worked as a self-employed person that usually made around $40,000 a year, I've been able to pivot my career with my knowledge and get into a business where I'm making 6 figures a year just working for myself as I please. Now, the sustainability and how rocky that can be is a challenge, but this is why even if you have a full-time job, it's always appropriate to learn new skills that you can start building side hustles that maybe could potentially become your full-time retirement job down the road, or an early retirement job for you quitting your main source of income. So what really matters here, folks, is skills. It's the only reason I have ever been able to be self-employed, because what I have taught myself is applicable to almost everybody around me. And many of you that follow this channel know I'm highly involved in things like websites. I am running a multitude of social media businesses, and we've learned how to leverage that in tons of skills, from everything from search engine optimization to actually getting involved with meetings and building up client relationships that are sponsoring a lot of these, a lot of the social media accounts. And then again, even though I'm managing it from a finance and a stock market perspective, I can still apply those skills to literally any business under the sun. And here's one that I'm kind of working on right now that involves high-end shoes for a client of mine, which I'll kind of keep all covered up here, but just to show you kind of how I'm leveraging my skills literally at this very moment to help other people. And if websites and social media aren't pertainably your thing, then unfortunately you just stepped away from one of the largest income producers that's currently going on. Go ask Google, go ask Facebook, guys. This is where the future's at. But one more thing that I'm trying to learn so I can continue to add to my skills that I mentioned that I find very appealing is machine learning and artificial intelligence. And this is something that people aren't aware is being so utilized everywhere. And Google right now is offering a complete crash course for free, so you can learn how to use the free tools they're already offering based on their supercomputers for machine learning. And to give you an idea how people use this, I'll give you a machine learning example that you could use to your favor. Let's say you're like me, or a stock investor, but more particularly, you're really involved on Reddit and stock twits. Well, you can build a machine learning bot that can go through and literally find specific tag terms related to stocks and figure out what everybody's talking about the most on any given day, and you can make trades based off what your bot finds is the most socially conversatic stock on the internet. Like, there's so much applicable use cases for this, and I mean, we see it again with self-driving and everything else in between. And I honestly think when I look in my world of, say, sponsorship deals and doing social media marketing and website marketing, I know people right now that have built machine learning bots that target and pay attention to the ads that you're running, and they tweak and pinpoint exactly what has been performing the best for your ad, and they allow you to make more strategic ads moving forward. Like, there's so much applicable value in use cases for everything to do with machine learning. So this is a course I personally plan on taking, and I'm very thankful that not only I'm just adding to my toolkit, guys. You know, when you get into the stock market and you start learning how stocks work successfully, and then you get into like social media and websites, you add that to your toolkit with all your SEO and your marketing and your Google ads. And then finally, I would love to add in a toolkit of machine learning and just understanding how to implement bots into some of the stuff that I do as well. But in light of all of this, I hope you guys learned something. This was just a general rant video today, so consider letting me know what you think in that comment section below, maybe where you're at with your savings and retirement goals. But in light of all this, stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you tomorrow.